Thanks for tuning in to another Psychic Diaries show. I'm Michael Lamport, and I'm the producer and narrator of the psychic show Rescue Mediums. And as you can see, my hair is terrible because I live in Toronto and we're still in lockdown. But anyway, let's not worry about that. And I'm joined, as always, with Jackie Dennison, who is the host of Rescue Mediums and the co-owner of the Feathers Academy in Northwich. And today we have the wonderful ability to introduce to you Joanne, who is a psychic. I don't know if the word Christologist even exists.
Christologist, I like that.
She's into crystals and everything like that. So, hi, Joanne. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello,
yeah,
Joe.
everything like that's probably a good description. I love it all.
It's you're sort of. I think you've got many psychic strings to your bow. I know that because I know you personally, and I know that not only are you psychic clairvoyant, you are a healer as well. You use crystals in your healing. You do Reiki. You're a Reiki master, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
And you do shamanic healing.
I will be. Yeah.
So you're into shamanic. You are also into numerology.
Well, it's numerology was a new one, and that's something that's happened since lockdown. But I've always been interested in numbers. It's the pattern of things that I like. So, as you know, my day job, I'm an accountant. And that wasn't anything to do with numbers. I just sort of fell into it. But what I find in my day job is it's the pattern, the numbers speak, they tell me a story. And I really like that. And that's how I teach the guys that I work with. It's like, you know, if you can read these numbers, you can read the pattern of what this client does, how he works, how his mind works. And I find it a real tell. And I find that the same with numerology and all the other things that we do, they all link in together and these patterns repeat. And that I think it's been a big thing for me in lockdown, understanding how everything links together.
But Joanne, how do you, when you think of numerology then, because I don't know much about it, how do you do the numbers? Like, what does it actually mean?
Well, for me, I mean, like I said, I was quite new to the actual numerology sort of course. This was something that I've done through lockdown when I started that. But I found that there were different things. So when I was still at Feathers and we were still doing meditations, I was getting a lot about sacred geometry coming through, and I'd spoken to Jackie about it and said, oh, it'd be great if you could do a workshop on it. And she also had been getting things through about that. And then in lockdown, as these things do, this course suddenly popped up about sacred geometry. So I started to look into that. And I'm like a sponge. I love learning things. And I started to read, and it just started to put so many things into perspective about understanding the patterns and the vibrations of the universe, and how that would dictate if you were born at a certain time, that would, you know, you would carry that sort of energy, and how that contributed towards the life path that you were supposed to have. And then while I was doing that one, it started to talk about numerology, which I was already conscious of. And I won't take anything, Alison is far and away. I know the basics, you know what I mean? And it's something I'm building up. But I found then that doing that sacred geometry course, the next thing was suddenly this numerology course popped up. So I started looking at that, because when I read something and I'll go through and I'll think, that makes sense to me. I know that. That really makes sense. And then I'll find something that thinks, I don't know about that. And then all of a sudden, probably because of the way Facebook and the algorithms work, or maybe there's bigger forces at play, numerology popped up, and I started to read about numerology, and it was uncanny reading that when I we've done a workshop at Feathers, they've run a numerology workshop. So I knew some of the basics, and this was building on it, going into more detail about your soul path numbers, your destiny numbers. And it was absolutely frighteningly accurate of me. You know, my birthday meant that I was a particular character, and it would tell you the type of challenges that you would face in your life. And it really blew me away. And I started to think about other people whose birthdays I could remember. And it was spot on about those people as well. So that pattern sort of fell into that. And then from there, it grew into, and all of a sudden these courses were popping up. And they were building on things that I think I've already always known. It filled in a lot of gaps into questions that I'd had about how these things work. But I really started to understand that, well, for me, our life is such part of a bigger plan, because before we came here, you know, if we chose a particular life and we wanted to experience certain things, being born on a certain day would have the strength and the vibration of those numbers of your birthday. Being called a certain name would give you the qualities and the character of the person that would best serve you in this particular life experience. And again, with the planets being aligned and the vibrations, all these things, astrology and everything, instead of being separate entities and separate things going on, it really helped me to understand why it was so important, and how, because I'd never understood when I read what a Virgo was. I'm a Virgo. I've never understood when I read the newspaper and think, well, that can't be the same for all Virgos. Surely, how does that work? But it's the overall feeling of it. And so these were filling in a lot of the gaps for me that have helped me a really good foundation for other things now.
Sorry, Michael, go on.
For example, you talked about the birth date and everything.
Yeah.
Do you think that's very significant for like everybody when you get your year and your date and is it your time of birth as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've asked my mum what time I was born, and she said she can't remember. So it was obviously a really uneventful event. So I just have to put midnight in, because nobody seems to know what time I was born. But yeah, the birthday, it carries on with that. I am here, aren't I? Just check. So it those numbers, though, that if I wanted to, I believe, and all of anything that I'm saying today, people might disagree with. It's not, I don't know. I'm taught from the passion I have for things, are things that resonate with me. So if I hear something, I think, yeah, I like that, I'll take that. So I'm a collection of lots of different bits of information from everywhere. So I believe that if I wanted to have a particular challenge in my life, like my friend, for instance, one of the numbers, as I was looking up hers on a birthday, she is the most practical person you've ever met in your life, in terms of, she never stops. She is, if anybody was called an earth angel, it would be her. She goes from every family drama, she's there. She will, if you say to her, oh, I really need to get that suitcase out the attic, she'll go, well, I'll come and do it now for you. I would be like, well, I might be able to do it on Thursday, you know, if I've got time. She's straight there, she does it. And she will keep on going like that. You know, you'll ring her to do something, she'll, well, I've just cut my mum's lawn, and then I've got to do so-and-so's hair, and then I'll come round to you at that. And she works like that all the time. But she is very much a fixer, in a good way. She's the type of person you need in a crisis. And when I read her birth numbers, it was her to an absolute T. It was unbelievable, and it described so much. So to me, that says that she chose in this life to come, and that was part of her contribution. I'm not saying that's all she is, because obviously she's got her own things to experience, but she obviously wanted to be that type of person. So I believe that being born on that particular day in that year would help to give her, it carried her on the universe's, you know, vibrations to help strengthen those qualities in her.
You believe, I know, in past life, in fact you're studying past life regression, aren't you, right now? And so what you're just talking about now is about choosing to be born. So choosing to be born on that day, part of this life path. So is what you're doing now understanding past life in order to understand the vibration of the numbers now? Is that how you see it?
Yes, I see it all linking in. So all these, I'd never thought of myself as a healer. It was never something I was interested in. You know, when we had the workshops and people would say, you know, oh, you're a healer and you're this and that. I've always loved the cards. It's playboy, and then when the mediumship kicked in, I loved mediumship. I'm so nosy. It's just, I would talk to spirit all day. Absolutely love it. But what I found with the past life regression is it has showed me, spirit has shown me through, so I haven't had to have, you know, be under somebody doing past life regression with me. I've been shown it in meditation sometimes. So if I found that I was having a particularly hard time and trying to understand why a certain person was in my life and what was happening, I would find that I would be shown a past life where they were there, and I would understand that relationship a lot better. Now, I found feathers coming through past life, through Brian. I went to have that, and I had a past life there. And I'd always sort of, growing up, I loved the Westerns, absolutely loved Westerns. But I loved the Westerns more when the saloon girls were there. I always wanted to be a saloon girl. You know, they were so beautiful.
Propping the bar up, I know.
Oh,
Propping
yeah,
the bar up.
yeah. Well, I was a barmaid for a long, long time. But this is the thing. And so growing up, I loved them. They were so colourful, because everything else in the Westerns was dirty and dusty. And I always wanted long hair. And then I went to see Brian, and that was the first time I'd past life regression done. I had no idea what to expect. I was just reawakening then. And he said, where are you? And I said, I'm sitting in the coach. And I had this cowboy sitting opposite me, which I know was a guide now because he had his hat tipped. He was this man in black. And I said, it's really weird. I said, you're not going to believe, you know, all through that, not this thing, because obviously I was in a bit of a trance. And I said, this eagle's just popped its head, this huge eagle. And he's going, yeah, that's fine. Just go with it. Just go with it. I'm like, right. And he said, where are you going? Where do you think you're going? And I said, well, we're in this coach. And I said, I feel like we're going to a town. I said, we're going to the saloon. And then while I'm doing that, I'm thinking, I must have been a saloon girl. I was like, that's why I've always loved them. And then in another, again, incident where I went into a past life regression, I found myself in this Western bar again. And but actually in a saloon, and I'm leaning there and I'm watching old girls, and they're all, and I'm like, oh, I have been a saloon girl. And then as soon as this girl starts to come towards me, and I'm thinking, that's a funny smile she's got on her face. And then I looked down at my feet, and I had mum's shoes on. And then I realised I wasn't a saloon girl, but I did like the saloon girls. And I was like, enough, we don't need to see them. But then I started to get dates and times around this thing. And I suddenly found, because part of the Westerns that I loved was when they were on the trains, you know, and you'd see the rich guys with pocket watches and decanters in their own little office, they'd have, you know, in the whole train. And I was given things like this. And when I came out and looked it up, this place, I think it was, I got it written down, it's either Georgetown or Jamestown. And it was famous for, there was a whole railway line that went to this other place in America, which again, I've got the names for there, which was the financial district. And I do feel I was a financial, whether I was a banker, I was very short, very round, a bit like I am now, but I had a bit of facial hair. And yeah, so I think now when I link at my accountancy thing, even though that wasn't my first choice, it helps to show me this relationship with numbers, how it was very natural, because I taught myself to be a chartered accountant. There were no college courses at the time to go to, and it was hard, I'm not going to lie, but I found I had this overall perspective, and that makes me think, is that something to do with that I've passed that knowledge on, you know, I already knew something about it. So past life's fascinating. But I also, I mean, there's very, very much about ancestral healing and about leaving parts of you behind and understanding where trauma was. And I think that past life, I feel very much that what's happening around us now through COVID, but very much if you look online now, you will see every other person is a life coach. Every other person wants to help you reach your full potential. It's normally earning 6K income, you know what I mean? But they're all coming up, and I strongly believe that we're now entering a time where we are supposed to individually experience deep healing, so that when we leave this lifetime, we are going to be as complete as we possibly can, so that we'll take all the vibrations from past lives that we might have left those bits of us behind, energy that doesn't need to be here. We heal the traumas from this life, from past lives. And that when we leave, I certainly want to be 100% if I can of who I am now, because I believe that when I go back, if I want to incarnate again, I will be 100% in that lifetime. And I think this is what's going on around us now, this deep healing. We're seeing it with, you know, what's happened in America, you know, Black Lives Matter. And I think this is what Earth is about.
Well, Joanne, what do you think then when you, because it's amazing what you said, when people have passed, as they are doing so much right now,
Yeah.
like 189,000 people in America.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that? How do we connect with them again?
Do you mean in terms of we understand why it's happened, or in terms of connecting to those people that have passed over?
Just connecting to those people that have passed over.
My belief, and it might not be a popular one, so I really hope I don't offend anyone. I'm not trivializing at all what's happened. It's an awful, awful thing. But I honestly believe that a lot of the people that have gone now, my personal belief is that they've gone to help to lift the vibrations as well. I believe that they are doing a lot of work in spirit now to help us. During COVID, it was my mediumship went off the rails, absolutely off the rails. I found that I was speaking to more people on the phone because we were all making much more of an effort to connect rather than just texting. And I found that as I was talking to people, I was getting spirit coming in, and they were telling me, they were going, let them know that I'm with them at this time. And I was getting visits from people that, and it was like, and I know spirits around us all the time, but there were specific, almost like guardians in every single household to watch over us, because it was such a, you know, it was a terrifying time for a lot of people, and still is. So I believe the veil, for me, I think has been very weakened to allow that to happen. And you know, one of my friends was talking to, and I said, I've just got your granddad coming in, he's telling me that he's looking out for you. And then I described another person, and I said, you know, and she said, oh yeah, she said that was my aunt. And I said, well, she's saying she's going to be in your nan's house. And it was like all these spirits, these wonderful people that have passed over. And so for me, I feel that the people that have gone are paving the way. I feel that they've got work that they're doing now, because I honestly believe that there is so much heaviness on Earth through past things that we've never really cleansed and never really got rid of. And I believe that it's our, sounds a bit airy-fairy, I know, but I believe it's our mission to lift all of that, to help heal the Earth, and also to make sure that we're healthy and whole as well when we go back to spirit.
I agree with you entirely, and I'm sure Jackie does too.
Yeah.
Now just going to the crystal thing, not thing, but what crystal do you think sort of helps us? Whether we put it under a pillow or whatever, helps us to like just breathe, just be different.
Yeah. I think, because the thing with crystals is, I was relatively new to this as well. I went through, when I was little, I was very, very psychic, and then I had a long period where I moved away from it. And when I started getting back into things, as I was saying, for me, it was very much about the cards, and it's like, I'm not really attracted to crystals. I've never really, you know, and then, but as I started to understand the vibrations, and I found that when I was at Feathers, I would, probably shouldn't say this, I would borrow crystals from the shop. I didn't pull them back, I promise, and I cleansed them. Because sometimes I'd just be sitting there waiting for the clients to come in, and I would just hear blue calcite, and I'd think, I don't know what that does. And I'd look, and I'd see this blue calcite, and I'd think, all right, and I'd take it in with me. And then when I'd look it up afterwards, I'd understand, and I think that was perfect for that person. It was absolutely perfect. Or it might be a bit of black tourmaline, and it might be because there was a particularly emotional client coming in perhaps. So sometimes it would be for me. So I started to understand that actually you really, you know, they do something. So I started looking into it more. And it's probably again this year where I've got more into, especially the skulls. I love my skulls. I've got, I don't know if you can see, nearly fell off, Aphrodite over the back there. She's lovely. She wanted to come. So I've been doing different sort of courses, but most of the stuff, even though I learn stuff, Michael, most of that's for me to help me put the technical side of it, because I like the science of things. I like how it combines, even though I don't need to know the science, I like it. So when I've got all these courses and these diplomas, it's not because it makes me an expert in them, it's because I've enjoyed doing them for my own benefit and understanding. So when I look at crystals, and I did do a course, one of the best ones with Judy Hall, you know, the one that did the Crystal Bible. Yeah. So just as we were going in, I did one of her courses, and she was fabulous. And really, it's just about understanding what it is that you want your crystal to do. So certain crystals will have a certain vibration which will support that. So rose quartz, you know, it is an attractor of love. And you don't need to know much about crystals. It might just be that you're attracted to pink. If you think of love being pink, if that's what resonates with you, then having a pink crystal of anything for me, and you holding that crystal and cleansing it and saying, I want you to bring me love to myself or love into my life, that will support you, I feel, irrelevant of whether it's rose quartz or another pink crystal, you know, rhodonite. Some carry much higher vibrations. I tend to, you know, I have rose quartz and selenite, next to red and amethyst. They work well for me. And if I'm doing meditation before I go to sleep, I go with where I'm attracted. Sometimes I was coming to Feathers and I'd be walking out and I'd feel this real pull to go back, you know, you forgot me, and I'd have to go back and pick a piece of crystal up. And that's something that's been happening over the last couple of years. So to answer your question, really, it depends what you want. And I think that you, because you have to program your crystal, your crystal will have certain vibrations, almost like, if you think of it as like a mobile phone, it's got so much memory in it, there's so much your phone can do, and it's never going to be able to necessarily do more than that. But you can tweak it, you can tell it what you know, that you want to get up at a certain time in the morning. You want it to, you know, give you the updates for Outlook or, you know, on certain things. And that's what you can do with a crystal. Your crystal is a vessel that is waiting for you to say, what do you want me to do? And then so when people buy these crystals and they go, well, it didn't work. And it's like, well, did you tell it that you wanted to do something?
Mm.
You know? What would you say then, Joanne, is your favorite crystal?
Oh, I can't do one thing. Honestly, I'm terrible. It's like, I'm normally one that asks those questions and I swerve it. I've got different ones for different things. So I've got a piece of aura quartz, which is absolutely beautiful, but it's got a very high vibration. It's only small. I've got a green fluorite skull, which I very often use when I'm doing meditations. And if I'm doing rescue work, like some stuff that I've been doing with Jackie, I've started using again the pendulum and saying which one of you wants to work with me. So I let them decide. So it's very different. I've got no favourite, I think. It depends what I want to do, but also sometimes I'll just scan and go which one, and just go, I'm going to take you tonight and I'm going to sit and hold you. And so it's more about them talking to me in those instances, really, I think.
I found that with crystals. I think they choose you.
Yeah.
They let you know what their vibration is and how they can help. You know, yeah. So there's not a little crystal there going, oh, pick me, please. Yeah. Yeah. Although the crystal skulls are like that, aren't they? The crystal skulls do have that like conversation with each other. Yeah. So you can, if you could measure what's going on between them, it'd be really, really interesting to see what the vibration is there. But they do choose you for different things as well. Now you're into herbs. You're a master herbalist as well, aren't you?
Yeah, well, and again, that's a title through the course. So I would never say to people, I'm an expert in it. I'll always be honest. So I have got a diploma in it, which means that I've studied, and that's really about the history of it, and also, you know, finding out that herbs can do certain things. But again, the reason that I did that, I found that Spirit's been showing me a lot of things, I feel, throughout the years, and they'll pop in and I'll start something and think, yeah, and then I'll go off and do something else and forget. And again, since lockdown, this has been coming through more. Now, in meditations, I found once again, doing a past life that I slipped into, that I was possibly a Venetian apothecarist. That was a big word. So basically, but yeah, I had an apothecary in Venice, where I did lotions and potions, and I always talk about lotions and potions. And then in other ones, it was very strong. I would find myself going to, which I know many people have, going to a cabin in the woods where all these wonderful herbs were very basic, and a big long bench in the middle, wooden, very basic, all the herbs growing round. So I've always felt that, but as we were going into lockdown, I got a really strong whisper in my ear, because like I say, spirit were coming through really strong then. And they said, we want you to grow sage. And I was like, right, okay. And I said, what about? And just said, we want you to grow sage. So I thought, well, I'm going to go with it. So I did. I ordered some sage seeds, and the only ones I could find was one of these herbal things. So there is, it's collection, parsley and about 6 other things. And I started growing them, and you know what, it was mesmerizing. I found so much joy from growing those seeds. And because I was working from home and the weather was absolutely fantastic, because it was in April, they were just starting to grow, so there's sun, and I was going out in the garden every 10 minutes and looking at them, and I genuinely felt like they were my children. It was like, and there's always something around, and I've built some herb pots. Now, I haven't used them yet, but when I was reading then, and I thought, I remember I bought a herbal course. So I went back to this herbal course and I started doing it. And then again, all these things are leading in, because you start to learn the old ways. Herbs have been around, frankincense, myrrh, spices. Yeah. They've been around, biblical sense, and way, way, way before. Shamans have used them. They've always been used. And these are the things why I think all these old remedies are coming through, because the new stuff doesn't work anymore. It heals on the actual, the cause or the symptom of something, but not the rest of the body. And we have to get that balance. So whether it's that it's going to be something supplementary, but I know that herbs are going to be a bigger thing for me. I've been shown a vision which I've half manifested, so it better come true because it looks amazing. Nice big white house with all these trees behind it, and a vegetable patch. And because I've found that through growing those, I want to grow my own things. I want to grow healthy things. I don't want to rely on processed food. So I feel that pull towards the natural thing as well. So the herbs, again, which I don't know if we covered, but just very briefly, I found when I was journeying shamanically that they would give me things. So I went in once, and I wasn't feeling great at the time, and they came out and they gave me this plant, and they said rock rose. Never heard of it. And this was like years ago. Never heard of it, didn't know what it was. Came out, looked it up. It was exactly what I needed, without a shadow of a doubt. Every time when I've gone into there, they have given me, it might be a crystal, and they've said that's what you need, and you come out. And that would happen in meditations too. And that's why part of me doesn't really see that much differentiation between whether it's a shamanic journey, whether it's an angel meditation, whether it's meditation. It's all, to me, coming from the universe, this wisdom that we've had and we've forgotten. So it's building in with the other things. So you asked before about a crystal. Maybe if you wanted to go to sleep, it might be something like, perhaps an amethyst crystal. If you charge it, say you want to go to sleep, but you might want to supplement that with some chamomile tea, so and maybe, have some lavender things. So again, it's all of these things contribute towards providing a better life for people, I think.
No, I think that's amazing. And when you said apothecary,
I tried.
I know a lot of people don't understand that, but in Canada, that would be Shoppers Drug Mart. America, it probably be Walgreens. And they are the apothecaries. But I bet you went into any of them and said, hello, are you an apothecary? They would go like, huh? But I love that. But the thing is, when you talk about the herbal remedies, have you ever, I got to ask this because this is what's happening now today. Marijuana.
I tried it when I was about, what would I have been? Maybe early 20s. I personally didn't. I mean, it was, it wasn't for medicinal purposes, shall we say, and it was something I'd never been interested in. I grew up in the time, fortunately, because I know I've got an addictive personality. But fortunately, I grew up in a time in England where all the heroin, you know, there was posters about heroin where, and they were really, do you remember, Jackie, the really harrowing posters of Watson? And it was so unattractive that I never wanted to touch drugs. So I did, while under the influence of alcohol, because I did smoke at the time. I have been in occasions where people have passed something around. I don't like it, but that was, I say, it's not from a medicinal point of view. That was in a cigarette, but it does bring benefits, and that's part of the problems, that when people know how to prepare herbs for a specific reason, it can bring such great benefits. I genuinely believe, and I will call him God, because I you know, that's my term for him. Sometimes call him Father, sometimes call him God, the source, whatever you want to call it. But I honestly believe that when he created Earth and put us on here, that he gave us all the things that we would need. He didn't give us, you know, we didn't need penicillin, we didn't need all those things, because we had people who lived, we lived tribally. You know, we lived as a commune, and we had wise people who passed down how to do things. So if you had an illness that could be cured, you know, it would be go and get that plant from there, go and dig up those roots from there, this is what you need. And then there would be a natural time for death, you know, because that was a natural way. They didn't extend life unnecessarily. There was a journey, and when that journey was over, it finished. But there were herbs and plants and flowers and all the natural resources already there to help where there should be help given.
Like
So
they would help the pain and all of that other stuff, and just make you feel okay. Like here, like nowadays, somebody injects you with morphine, and you feel nothing. So it's that sort of a thing, eh?
Yeah, and it's when I was reading about and reading all these, going through these courses, because I said they all sort of linked in. It was amazing. So many, like, because I'm doing an aromatherapy one, and that was talking about like the subtle bodies and about how you heal, and it was a lot. These things that are actually talked about in a lot more of a spiritual way than I expected them to be. I thought they were going to be very, or you can burn this and that looks pretty, which there is that, but there is a real leaning to healing in a spiritual way. So for me, that's the whole ethos of how I want to, and I think how I've probably always worked. That's why I do collect these things, because I don't think there's any one answer. In medicine, they talk about in this, you know, the courses, even in things like soul retrieval, they talk about how you will go to a doctor and the doctor will say, you've got cancer of the, you know, the lungs or whatever. So they will bombard you with chemotherapy. So, but directed, you know, at that spot to try and heal that. But it's not necessarily taking care of the emotional side of it. And very often, you know, in shamanic, you know, healing, the idea is that it's the emotion and the disturbance in energy that causes a lot of, it's called dis-ease. You know, it's that not feeling good. Now, obviously, cancers are different. I'm not saying that, you know, just by being a happy person and all that, but they have shown that being a positive person, and those people who have had a very positive outlook have very often been able to, you know, survive those type of things, you know, because of will or so. I think there's a lot to be said, and there's finding more doctors now that are wanting to work in hospitals, that are wanting to work with complementary medicines, because they understand that giving you a tablet, that's going to cure that, but why did you get that in the first place? You know, I take an aspirin or a headache tablet, I get a headache, but why have I got that headache? Is it actually because I've done too much today? Am I tired? Have I watched too much television? Have I been bombarded with too much stuff? Am I under stress? So it's looking at that holistic way, really, rather than just going, I've got a headache, you know, take that, that'll make it better, and then that's it. But I'm not solving anything. I'm just putting myself potentially in the situation again, because I didn't know why I was in that, you know, why I got that in the first place.
I think that's very true. And what you're saying is, I think, very significant to indigenous people all over the world. And I'm in Canada, and they have a very different approach to medicine and healing. And they wouldn't say, take an aspirin and call me in the morning. They would figure it out. And that's what I think you're right. You're absolutely right about.
Yeah, we're accustomed to everything being quick. Everything's the quick fix. And that's why all of these things, the past life, the soul retrieval, you know, the Reiki. I mean, I've done a few Reiki sessions this week, remote Reiki, and it's unbelievable to me that you can get that. And I've had some fabulous experiences with people, and they've said the same, and we've talked about things after, you know, and they've sort of explained things. And so it's that deep healing. And for me, it's about looking at somebody and understanding. If somebody was to come to me and say, I don't know what I'm doing, so they might want to know what their life's purpose is. So to me, it's understanding, well, what, you know, trying to find out, what do you think it is? Because I don't want to fix people. I want people to have the tools and understanding how to fix themselves, because nothing's more empowering than that. You can be a support, you can be an advisor, you can be a teacher, you can help show the way. But if you can understand yourself why you feel that, then you're already on the way. And I think this is why people like, you know, wanting to do what I do are popping up now, because it's not just one thing. We're branching out. We want to do it all, and that's what I want to do. I want people to be whole and happy. I feel happy now talking about this. I'm passionate about this genuinely, because for the first time in such a long time, I know this is what I want to do. I know that this is my life's purpose. And when I look at everything else that I've learned and been through in my life, I think, yeah, it's all about here now, and that makes me happy. And I want other people to feel, when they talk about what they want to do, I want them to feel that excited. I want them to be a giddy kipper, Jackie.
Giddy kipper.
I can't believe you've never heard that.
I've never heard of giddy kipper. And she sent me an email and she put, I'm as happy as a giddy kipper. I went, oh my God, I've never heard of that before. I'm going to use that one.
Full of the old sayings, but you know, these old sayings have got so much to them as well, haven't they? You know, when you live there.
I think that's the thing, when you've got because what in effect what you're doing is you're going back to the old ways. You're looking into the origins of things that have been here for thousands of years, like the herbs, like the plants, like the trees, like the crystals and rocks. They've been here for thousands of years. And learning the value of these and how they can benefit us now. But what you're also doing, which I think is amazing, is you're tapping into past life. You're tapping into the Akashic records. You're tapping into the past life of yourself, of people who would come to you to understand how they can use that information themselves, which involves soul retrieval that you've talked about, and maybe healing too. So, you know, so when someone comes to you and says, oh, I'm on this line, I don't know what to do or whatever, and you were to say to them, well, what do you feel is right for you? Do you also then make a decision based on what they're telling you, what your spirit guides are telling you, as to what the next step forward would be? So would it be, does that person want a clairvoyant reading? Do they need to connect to a loved one in spirit? And that's what, you know, that's what they're missing right now, being able to talk to somebody in spirit or a loved one that's not here anymore. Or do they need healing? Do they need to understand their own past life? Do they need do they need physical, mental or emotional healing? And so you would then, how would you make that decision? Would you allow your spirit guides to guide you in that way? Or do you think it's a combination of everything?
Everything, absolutely everything. I think it's going to be, because for me, I know through the experiences that I've had a lot of little things. I've had some bad things, but nowhere near other people's bad things. But I've had enough bad things in my life that I don't want them anymore. And also, but they taught me a lot. And I've known for a long time now that it's been in preparation so that I can connect to people. I might not fully understand, but if somebody sits before me, more than likely I can say, I do know how you feel. And I know that that person will know that I know how they feel, because it's genuine. So I think if somebody was to come to me, so it's like you said then, if somebody comes, they might come initially for a reading because they want to connect. They're upset. You know, they might have lost somebody, and it might be that they don't even know why they're coming for a reading. Perhaps they've had a push, and they might just think it's like, well, I've lost that person, and now I don't know what to do next. So they might come for a reading. But then the comfort, if that loved one that's passed comes through, what happens then is the grief that they've got, potentially by that person coming through and me or any other medium being able to connect to them and help them understand that that person's gone, maybe answer questions about why, but let them know that they've not gone forever. That gives so much comfort. But from a healing point of view, what that also does is it also allows that grief to start to be dealt with. Because if I've got somebody in front of me that's going, I don't know what to do next, but they haven't addressed that grief of that loved one passing, I can't do anything, and they can't move forward because they're still caught up in that moment. So this is where the different elements would come through. The mediumship would help to give hopefully that peace, which almost moves that into a box and we can deal with it then. And then it's like, okay, so you're feeling happy about that, but you still feel lost. So what did that person, how did they, what part of you has gone with that person? What part of your life has gone? What did you want to do? Maybe. And then, so that might be a reading, a guidance reading to help with that. Or it might be, you know what? You've now got these emotions dealt up, because sometimes they come, don't they? And the loved ones might have passed years ago, and they might have been carrying this for so long that it's not just an instant, oh, I'm glad now I can move on. Sometimes they've got caught in that thing. So it might be the loved one comes through and helps, but then there might be emotions. So I might say, well, Reiki would be good because that's going to help to balance your energy. And for me, that I think is always needed, that balancing of energy, because I know you do it. I'm terrible. I know how good it is to balance my chakras, but I don't do it every day. I am now, because I know how much better I feel. I do Reiki on myself. So that's what it would be. It would be what do they need? Is it the blocks? Do I need to help them feel better so that I've lessened those? Because sometimes people can be so resistant as well. Oh no, I don't need that. No, that's not for me, and that's not for me. So for them to open up, especially if they've been hurt in circumstances, it's helping them to feel comfortable and safe in an environment, but also helping them to be in tune with them. Because the more they start to think about what do I want, then they are really claiming their own power again. And they're starting to understand themselves. And that's when I believe, I always say to clients, you know what I'm like, they never come for an hour, do they? They're normally there. She'll say to Jackie, she went, is that the same client? It's like, yeah. But even when I'm doing the readings, I see myself as a distraction, because I know they're getting healing, because they feel relaxed around me. And that might be my own purpose. I might not tell them anything they really want to know, but they always walk out and go, I feel a lot better after that. They always do. And that's, so it's not me. I will work, I'll just do what Spirit tells me to do. If they don't know what they want to do, perhaps there's no emotion, perhaps they're not dealing with the loss, still want to balance in the Reiki, I still think it's good. But then it might be a meditation is good for them, because losing that sort of thing, to let that front part of your mind go and just go with your imagination. So many people are out of touch with that if they're not used to it. So that sometimes, go back to a time when you were happy, think about a defining moment, which is, you've done that in the workshops, and that's, I've told you, that's got some amazing results for me. And that's the same thing with past life. If they come and there's always this block and they just can't get over something, is it something from a past life then that you're carrying forward? Are they repeating patterns? Why am I always the one that's left? Why am I always, and this why, I was saying this to somebody the other day, this almost, and it sounds awful, but almost like this sort of, why is this happening to me and why? But if you actually take the time, and this is what the difference in shamanic, they wouldn't sort of go, why is this happening to me? They would sit, because this would be a rite of passage for them. And they would sit and they would go, okay, so why is this happening to me? Why am I here? What do I need to be aware of? And just reframing it in a different way removes that victim mentality, that feeling of hopelessness, of being, at the mercy of an unseen power, or why is everything going wrong for me? But if you can stop and just go, right, why is things going wrong? What happened? How did it get to this point today? So, and that again leads into other things. Mindfulness comes in, because sometimes people are thinking too much about the past or too much about the future. So do they need to just focus on today? Because if you focus on today, you're only going to be dealing. So if you start the day, and this is a practice that I've implemented for myself, every morning through Reiki, there's 5 principles that you have to read. So he taught that you have to say, or you should say, you should live these: just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will not be angry. just for today, I will give thanks for all the blessings in my life. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. And just for today, I will be kind to every living thing. So instead of over-facing yourself, if you can do that, you set that intention in the morning, and the hands are going now already. You set that, but then at the end of the night, if you then journal and go, so what happened today? What was I grateful for? And you make yourself think of 5 things. Mine were just things. I was thankful for food on the table. I was thankful that my favourite programme was on. Because just that practice of giving thanks for that day, nowhere else. And if you try and set yourself things that you're not repeating the same thing, that same thanks, it makes you then think the following day, what else am I thankful for? And that changes your whole perspective so quickly and lifts you into a different, for me, it just gives me a control. And I took my car to the MOT a couple of weeks ago. It's got a nail in the back tyre, not driven it. I know somebody's done it. A few months ago, I'd have been, I'm going to get burned. I hope something bad happens, you know, and all that. And now I'm just like, whatever. What's the point in worrying? It's there. It's going to happen. Why carry that baggage around? And that's genuinely, I'm not just saying that. That's how I felt. And that, because I knew I created that ability to do that, not carry that baggage. That in itself was amazing. So that was something I was thankful for that night, that I was truly able to not carry that resentment down.
Yeah, and I think it all makes so much sense. And I think during lockdown, there's so many people that are now looking at themselves and wondering, you know, why they're here, what they're going to do next, and because it's taken everybody out of their comfort zone. I know what Michael is. He's very much out of his comfort zone because he's got long hair now.
Yes.
So hi.
No, that's absolutely true. And I haven't had long hair like this for, I don't know, maybe 500 years. But I look like a 1970s rock guy right now. And I hate it.
Do you?
Because it's down around my ears.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to
but
deal with
maybe even that, maybe it's like that recognition of, is it connected to a time frame where, you know, certain things happened in that lifetime that made you stop and think about things? You know, it really is. Yeah, you've opened up a whole new way of thinking, Joanne, and I'm hoping that people are going to get such a lot from this interview, and they will contact you about you know, where do they go to next, what do they need, you know, they can contact you just to talk to you about their own direction, and even if they want to you know, to learn about shamanism or sacred geometry or numerology, or you know, or just to have some sort of focus for themselves, that they'll contact you and book a session with you, and will benefit from that. I know that we've had great fun today. You've certainly, I know you, but you've certainly opened my mind to other things that I hadn't even thought about. I'm sure Michael feels the same.
Yes. And thank you, Joanne, so much.
You're very welcome. It's been a
And
pleasure.
we will make sure that your contact information and website is up on our site. And for anybody else that is watching, please go to veryparanormal.com, and you can see this interview and many others. But this is great. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I'd just
Joanne.
like to say, it doesn't have to be me they contact, because there's so many people that do it. But if they just start at least thinking about themselves, that in itself is a start. So, you know, there are things they can do on, because it's about empowering people, you know, not just through me, but I'm more than happy to do it, obviously. But yeah, thank you very much anyway. It's been a
Good
pleasure.
advice.
Nice to meet you.
That's very sweet. That's very nice. Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Joe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.